Okay, I'd like to call the August 10th Parks Board meeting called to order. Can we have a roll call?
Rob Hill, present.
Jim Miller, present.
Cordell Wistison, present.
Michael Brown, present. And on the phone, we have Dave North and Doug Irving.
Okay, can we have pledge allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Has everyone had a chance to?
Has everyone had a chance to look over the minutes on July 13th? And if so, can we get approval on it?
I so move that we accept the meetings from the July as stated.
Second.
So moved. Can we start now with the Parks Director's report? Michael Brown?
Okay, we'll start on the mountain. Casper Mountain Trail Center, the contract has kind of been finalized between legal and Caspar as of today. It should be on the schedule to be in front of the commissioners on Tuesday, August 15th for execution. Caspar plans on demoing the foundation of the old lodge and falling all the trees this fall, as well as bringing in some of the base and storing that for the winter. We've had discussions about possibly being able to keep that parking lot open for the winter. So we're discussing where we're going to stockpile material so that we can still plow without and have positive drainage off the parking lot. And then on the temporary lodge building there, it's a Montana shed construction, 14 by 44 building. We're trying to finalize how that's going to go. There's been discussion about utilizing it elsewhere on the mountain. My recommendation to the commission was to put it up for, actually have, contract Montana Sheds to move it down off the mountain and put it up for auction with a minimum bid of $30,000. The latest is we're looking at still possibly auctioning it off with a higher minimum bid of $40,000 and auctioning it in place. The conflict there is Caspar wants to get started right after Labor Day, so it gives me a short few weeks to get it done and only about a week for whoever purchases it to get it moved off the site. So I don't want to inhibit Caspar, so that's why I was planning on just getting it moved downtown. Putting it in Bear Trap parking lot, and there's a high likelihood of vandalism, and then we would have to pay for, may have to pay for another move, or if it auctions and it gets too late in the season, it might not be able to get moved for the winter. And then there's a conflict there having it in that parking lot. So there's still discussions going on with the commission. I've had several conversations via email with them today. It sounds like they're probably going to do a final discussion on Tuesday to decide where that's going to go.
The furniture inside there, Michael, are you going to take it back downtown and store it?
Yeah, so it sounds, from my understanding, it sounds like it was donated from somebody in the past for the old lodge. There's 3 couches in there. They're good quality couches, so I'm trying to find a location to store those where they're not going to get covered in dust in one of the warehouses at Road and Bridge. We're looking in my office space to see if we can finagle something in there, but it's going to be in there for over a year. So we don't want it in the way, but yeah, so we're figuring that out.
Yeah, I believe it was donated by the Tobin family in memory of Michael Burns.
Okay. Yeah, so the plan is to keep those couches and bring them back in, try and figure out how we can fit them into the new lodge. You know, we'll have a lot of chairs and tables out, but I think we can find some corner space to put that in there.
So is there any information that you can share right now with the power of being disabled at the temporary lodge and where we are with that for the rest of the year?
So where we're currently at with the current building up there is we've drained the water line. We've had Rocky Mountain Power disconnect the power completely. We've had Modern Electric out. They're removing the panel on the outside and disconnecting from the building. The plumbing will be disconnected next week. And then we're talking with Modern Electric about setting a temporary power pole and tying into the power that feeds the stadium area. So more than likely, we're gonna have power to the stadium area for the winter. And more than likely, I don't think we're gonna affect the current lighted loop at all, but if we do, I think we're gonna try and run a temporary line to make that connection so that it stays on. Because those lights will be relocated to the north of the building when construction happens. So the lighted loop right there where the lodge is may not light the trail very well because that trail may not be in use for the winter. The trail to the back of the lodge will still be in use.
I think that would be fine. on
Yeah.
that. I think it'd be advantageous if we notify the district or the high school and junior high NORC program of if a generator is going to be needed for the races this winter.
So as soon as I know the direction we're gonna go with this, once I have a cost, I'll know pretty soon. So before the ski season, we will know on that, so.
Okay, thank you.
The bear trap shelters, I need to follow up with Emberg Miller on the bid documents and see if we can't get the east shelter bid out. We're running pretty late in the season, so I don't know if we're going to get one constructed this year, but I like to maybe get somebody under contract so that when the spring thaw comes, they can get that installed before, you know, by the end of June or something like that, depending on our winter. I've got a feeling that winter's gonna be like last year. That's just my gut feeling with the temperatures and the moisture. I think it's gonna be similar.
That's what the Farmer's Almanac says in Don Day.
Don Day says so.
And that's part of the discussion about the building there. There's been discussion about moving it into Bear Trap Meadow and setting it up as a shelter for weddings or whatever. The problem is the building only holds 26 people. It does not have air conditioning. It has very little ventilation because it's only got 4 windows on it. And we would not have any plumbing to it. We could possibly have power, but it's also around just over $29,000 to pour a slab to do that. So we'll wait for direction from the commissioners on where that building's gonna go and what we're gonna do with it. Speaking of, so the next item I have is the trailhead kiosk. I really haven't done anything with that, so that will be a project that I'd like to get the design finished this winter and get that out for bid in the spring so that we can get those kiosks installed at Archery Range, Biathlon, and 2 of them at Bear Trap. And then the 5th one, which we have some funding for, would be at the Trail Center. And in the design, we've worked that into where that would be positioned. But it may be modified a little bit based off the change in the concrete plan for the exterior of the building. We've gone away from more of a patio concrete slab that's fairly big to just sidewalks up to the building. So we may end up relocating that some. The bridle trail, Wyoming Conservation Corps showed up Monday. I survived a hike across the bridle trail as a recon mission with them Monday afternoon to kind of give them an idea. And then on Tuesday, they started work by tightening all the cables along the staircases, as we call it, up to the platforms and above. And then they also fixed a washout at the bench right next to the creek where the footer was exposed. They reinforced that with rock armor, so that shouldn't have any more issue. And then they dug out the bench up at the falls and did that. And then, so day 3, they finished the cabling. That was yesterday. They reset 3 of the poles that hold the cabling, secured those properly because they were loose. They built a bridge across the creek above the falls. And I believe it's just a rock type bridge. I don't think they built any timber bridge there. I'm going to check on that Saturday. And then they closed off some of the washed out trails that kind of mislead you to that area. So they cleaned up some of that. They finished digging out the benches at the falls and added about a 4-foot high, 15-foot long rock wall along the slough slope that's been falling down onto the benches. And then today, most of the crew helped in falling 8 trees along the upper portion of the trail, and the rest put in 3 water bars somewhere up there. So I'm not sure exactly where. Tomorrow, the plan is they'll be working on the upper creek crossing, realigning that creek so it doesn't run down the trails, and building a rock crossing there as well. So they'll be doing that as well as falling some more trees tomorrow. And then Saturday, I think I'm going to try and get them to the new trail on the west side where the handrail is and the gravel. That side slope's starting to slough off and crowd that trail. So they're going to do some work on that as well as improve the stepping above there. And I think Austin met them yesterday about that, on putting in some more steps that make more sense to get up that really steep section that you bypass Christman's on. And then hopefully Sunday is their day off, and then we have a Monday and Tuesday. So I think Monday and Tuesday they're gonna focus on that Scree Hill, that east trail that comes from the parking lot straight up the hill, and try and install some water bars and do some mitigation there to make it less treacherous. So they're getting a lot of work done. I've got 8 of them out there, and today, the afternoon, was their kind of educational field trip. My goal and hope was to take them to Hell's Half Acre, but timing didn't work out for that. So we went to Crimson Dawn and educated them on that and Niels Forsling's history, opened up the museum, let them see that and understand all that, and walked to all the shrines. So they seemed to enjoy that quite a bit. So, except for the 2 that didn't make it because they were still trying to handle a widowmaker tree on the trail that they were trying to get down. So
I talked to them later on this afternoon, and they said they really enjoyed working here. This crew was the first time they've been in the Casper and Natrona County area, and they said they loved the mountain. The work that they were doing was tough. They said really tough.
it is.
Yeah, but they said we'd love to come back.
Yeah, and I think the last time we had the Wyoming Conservation Corps here was probably close to a decade ago, and I think they did bridle trail work then. So, but yeah, they're making headway, and the trees that they're falling, they may not come down for 3 or 4 years, but when they do come down, they're coming across the trail. And so I'm taking a preemptive measure to try and get those down before they're rotted and even more dangerous to cut than they are now. That cutting trees in the bridle trail area is difficult. It's steep side slopes. It's very thick, dense forest, so you really have to pick your way on where you're dropping trees and how you're dropping them, so that they fall and don't snag up. And like I said, they got 7 of them before this one, you know, and this one looked like, the lane they had looked good, but it just had too many branches sticking out and kind of got snagged up, but we got it where it's safe to cross, and they'll clean it up tomorrow. The Bear Trap Festival, I think went pretty well. I haven't heard on attendance levels, but it was a muddy mess, and the vendors getting out of the meadow have caused some damage there. The stage semi got stuck, putting the stage in. So the county's gonna have to do probably a couple acres worth of disking and reseeding to get that area back. We have calf deep to knee deep ruts in places, and the vegetation's just decimated in that northern end where most of the activity is. So we won't be having the festival there next year, so the vegetation should come back really well once we get it reseeded. The goal is to get it seeded this fall before the end of September, as soon as we can. Fall reseeding works best in my experience, and I've done quite a bit of it, reclamation work, in my past, so that's the goal. We're gonna contact Wind River Seed. They're a high-quality seed company. You can give them latitude and longitude, and they'll tell you what needs to be there. So hopefully we can get that to come back next year.
So do we have a cost that the county has donated? Or is
No.
that to be?
No, I'm gonna research that, you know, a lot of ours is in-kind services, but we have park staff on through the whole weekend. We have Road and Bridge on setup and tear down of fencing and marking the parking lots, grading the parking lots. And then we have the sheriff's deputies on hand. We have emergency management on hand. Road and Bridge has a water truck available for, you know, trying to water the parking lot on the dusty seasons. So,
Not this year.
yeah, so, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. So hopefully by early next year, I'll have a good solid cost that it costs to the county. And I'll share that with you guys when I get that. But right now, people are still collecting timesheets and whatnot, but I'll be talking with a good portion of them about that, so. The other thing on the mountain that I overlooked putting on here was discussion about the adopted Summer Trail Master Plan. And maybe I'll go through the lake and then we'll come back to that, because I know Austin, I think, wants to talk about that some. So at the lakes, the Pathfinder campground improvements, just waiting on a few rolling shutters for the shelter to be installed. They ordered the wrong size, they're reordering, and so we're hoping those will be in soon. The October Marina, the remnants of the building and the foundation have been demolished. They're trying to do what concessions they can from the boathouse and down below in their little tiki bar. They've got temporary power run over there so they can have appliances for, you know, cold sandwiches and whatnot. To have, to be able to cook food on the grill and whatnot, they need to have a hand washing station, and they don't have water. So, it'll be prepackaged stuff. I think they're having food trucks come out on the weekends, to kind of do that, but they're still selling gas, they're still renting boats, paddle boards and all that. So, anybody interested can still go utilize those, services from them. We've had discussions, just preliminary discussions about getting them rebuilt by next June, and the Bureau Rec's involved in that, and the marina's taking action to go through the process of that they're gonna require. So we're working on that process right now. So I'll keep you updated on that throughout the winter. The construction permits, the status on those, there's actually several unauthorized projects that I have to deal with. there's been one that they wanted to pour concrete, and we stopped them from that, and then they wanted to put pavers in, and that would have been okay, but their deck sizing was above the square footage, so they were denied. Well, there's pavers there now, so now I gotta go through the process of penalizing them and sending applications. There's a couple things going on in the cabins that's happened. There might be one thing at the marina that they haven't pulled the permits, gotten the Bureau Rec approval, and so, because I'm the Parks is the managing agent, I have to provide them notice and determine a penalty for this. In all of their permits, they have a first-time offense up to $1,000, a second time up to $3,000, and a third up to $5,000. Sometimes this affects them, sometimes they don't care. So, I'll be working with legal on this round of them, on the penalty and whatnot, so that it's all sent appropriately and done, versus me just saying, you owe me $750 because you did something you weren't supposed to. So, we're having some sewer issues out in the trailer park just because of all the trees and roots and whatnot. So, this spring, we're probably gonna try and do a root kill through the system. We're still gonna get a engineer to look at the water line out there and the sewer as well and come up with a new design and an estimated cost. And it'll be significant to replace the infrastructure in that trailer park. So,
May I ask a question?
yes.
Like with the situation with the pavers that you were talking about, do they have to remove them when they're fine?
Well, that's the decision I have to come up with.
Yeah,
So, but everybody out there is limited to 400 square feet of deck.
I remember that.
So, yeah.
So that's
So,
up to your discretion. So you're
Yeah.
the bad guy.
yeah, I'm always the bad guy.
Okay, I wanted to make sure.
So,
Oh, I'm sorry.
that's okay. So, that's basically the summary. I'll start with, well, a couple other things at the lakes. There's been a few citizens bringing concerns about camping and going over the 10 days or switching out campers in the same spot. And so folks' spots that they want are never available in the first come, first serve. I've had discussions with the sheriff's office about this, and, you know, in the past rules, it said you had to be there, you couldn't leave it more than 24 hours. Well, there's no way to enforce that unless you have somebody standing there watching how long they've been gone. You just can't do that, because somebody could leave at 3 in the morning to go to work and not get back till 8. Well, my staff works 7 to 3. So, you know, they won't be able to check that, and we have, I don't know, well over 100 sites on all those areas. I think we have over 100 in just the reservation. And so with 2 caretakers, we don't check sites every day. We can't. We have to alternate days on where we're going to check on the status and clean out houses and stuff, because we don't have the staff to do it. So the 24-hour rule's gone, you know, and as long as you've got a paid camping permit that's valid, you know, we're okay with that. And so is the sheriff's office, as long as they got their camping permit, whether they're there or not, they paid for the site, so they can use it. We've had a few people that tried to work the system and stay longer, and you're supposed to stay 10 days in one campground, and then you have to move to a different campground. And so, you know, a few folks have been working around that, but Parks is spread thin, SO doesn't, you know, they're spread thin as well, so minor infractions kind of get overlooked at times when there's bigger issues to deal with. So I'm working with the sheriff's office to see what we can do to kind of help facilitate this. And the major campground that I'm having most of these complaints about is West Side at Alcova. And so there's a high likelihood that's going to go into the reservation system next year, which will help mitigate that. It provides us contact information for issues, and emergency dispatch has access to our reservation system, so they can look up that information if there's a bigger issue that the sheriff's department needs to deal with. And my staff on the ground has live feed on that through a tablet, so they can check to see who's there and if they've been there too long, or if they're not supposed to be there. You know, it really helps out. It's a good management tool is what it is for the minimal staff. But, so I'm working through some of those issues. You know, the one gal wanted me to bring it up at the meeting tonight about the issues about these people staying there. And I need to respond because she still thinks there's a 24-hour rule that you can't leave it empty for more than 24 hours. And that went away in the last revision of the rules. And the reason it went away was enforcement. You can't legally enforce that unless you station somebody there to watch it 24/7. So yeah, that's the last thing on the lake there. So Austin's here tonight. I expect to talk about the Summer Trail Master Plan and probably the procedures on how that should work with CWTA. Is that right? Yeah. So I'll just enter that with the master plan is our guide. It's been adopted by the county commissioners, so that's our guide. However, to implement that guide, we still need to have groups approve their plans. So if they have something in the master plan they want to do, and I need to have a discussion and review what exactly the plan is. Are we following this as it was detailed in the master plan, or are there additional details that we need to do before it gets done? In the past, I know there were some unauthorized jumps that were built, and the public was a little upset when some of my predecessors removed those. And I don't want to get into that aspect. I want to work well with our volunteer groups so that we can get this done in an appropriate fashion. And I don't want to sound like I'm going to try and delay the process by saying I have to review this and that, but I at least have to have knowledge of what's going on up there, you know, before things are implemented. So Austin and I have had some conversations on that, but that's kind of the extent of where I'm at, you know. Some of the more detailed construction I may have to bring in front of the Parks Board, and, you know, or variations from the master plan, bring it to the Parks Board, or possibly even the commissioners. You know, especially if it's a large deviation from the master plan, which was adopted. That's our guide, you know, but it doesn't specify out all the exact details, like what are we gonna do with stormwater mitigation on this trail. I mean, it talks about how to install the water bars and rock armoring and some of that, but, you know, are we gonna have to cut trees? Are we, you know, gonna have to close this to the public for a certain amount of time? So those are some of the details, and if you want, I can have Austin come up and expand on that a little bit and bring up whatever else you might have on the trails. It might be off on the bottom.
There we go. All right. Whoa. I got the echo going. All right. First off, I appreciate the opportunity to come up and speak in front of all of you again. And I love what Michael Brown said as far as that we're trying to build that partnership. I want to first off start that CWTA in no means to be problematic or pushing into something that you know doesn't need to be there. We do have, I want to address one thing before we get into the master plan stuff of a trail redesign or a reroute that got done up there. And I had conversations with Mr. Brown about that. And it was on Tower Hill Campground Site number 2. In fact, I have some paperwork on that particular plan. If you, is that all right if I hand these out to you folks? Mike, I sent you, this is the same exact plan.
Yeah.
I sent you. The quality on these aren't great. I had to print them out real quick.
It's in my inbox.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
where it's at.
Yeah, so I had to print those out real quick. So the gist of this is that we've been having a lot of issues, and it wasn't just for events that have happened with fat fish racing. It was actually, people are trying to get off of Eadsville right now because of the congestion of all the users that are up there. So a little group session of talking was like, hey, we should do a reroute, okay? And then it was like, okay, let's pump the brakes. Let's talk to the county about doing a reroute. Well, trails started getting built immediately on that, and so we tried to backtrack that and stop that. I approached Mike Brown about that. He was upset with good reason, but we did the best that we could as far as mitigating those issues. We got approval to go ahead and continue that trail, and within this packet, it's basically a proposal as well as a conclusion as far as what that trail actually looks like. And basically what it is that there was a trail that went up right through the middle of Campsite 2 on Tower Hill. A lot of users are using that trail this year, and there's been 4 instances that I'm aware of, and I'm sure there's been more interactions with the public that have rented that spot of bikes going through that area. And then with the Bear Bait 8 coming up, we're going to have an upwards of 100 to 200 riders going through that area. That's not how many riders are going to be up there for the event, but how many laps they're going to be making. So it's a significant amount of riders going through there. So this was a good, what we saw was a permanent solution to an immediate need. And again, we kind of put a little bit of a bruise at the beginning of this relationship, and we're hoping that this doesn't continue. We can heal this bruise. Like I say, that Mr. Brown allowed us to build that trail, and hopefully you guys can go up and see the work. I put some pictures in there, and this was a fairly quick job. And we were able to do that with 4 volunteers being able to go up, get that done. It is in rideable condition. We did fix those water issues, and it's doing great. So I hope that after a review of that this trail can actually stay in place for the future of that trail system. If not, we can work on whatever plan needs to be in the future with that particular trail. But anyway, if you would like to, I would like you guys to look at that. And again, this is kind of an official apology from CWTA as far as how this progressed. We were doing our darndest to try to get it mitigated before any damage got done, and hopefully we did that, but I think a little damage was done, but hopefully we can move past that. As far as moving on, as far as the trail plan, I do have another packet. Basically it's a proposal packet, and I'll hand these ones out too. And if you don't mind, let's see, I only have 4 of them. I'll email
That's
you.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
So what this is following the rules of the master plan, that we need to submit those trail plans. And this one is one of those that our group saw that we could tackle. The way the Kalen master plan drew out Pinball and Ridge is that they were incorporated with the gravity trails that were going to be in the McMurray area. We actually disagree with those being gravity-focused trails. That is more of a natural cross-country style area. Not that we can't do some more fun things in that area, but to kind of pump the brakes on all the advanced trail features and stuff like that, and allow the volunteer user group to be able to go in and recreate those 2 particular trails. In fact, back in 1994 to 1997, I was instrumental in putting those 2 trails in with the other user groups through, it was actually Neil and Kelly is why it was called Nellie's. And then Pinball, it was actually Pinball Alley back in the day. So having that opportunity to kind of continue that process and bringing it up to the current standard, because I'll tell you what, an 18-year-old kid doesn't really build good trail, but maybe a 43-year-old that's lived a life of trail work, mitigation, leadership and stuff like that, we can bring a lot to this. That being said, CWTA is not in the position to just go out and do it. We're actually looking at hiring consultants. We're actually partnering with 2 of the more notable trail builders here in Wyoming. on hiring them as consultants to direct us on what is the best use of the area within the confines of the master plan, how that master plan reads, how the GPX or the shapefiles read, and to do the best for what is in there. Now, with any trail, you can have the GPX file or the shape file or whatever, you know, the topo file basically, and the final product is never what the concept is. But that being said, following that very closely would be something that we would be wanting to do. And this is basically our first proposal on that, something that we would like to do as an organization. There are other things outside the master plan that, that Kaylin, did not put in there, so that would be something that I think we need to present to the Board of County Commissioners, because it would be a fairly significant change, such as an addition to the minor loop area. There's one single loop over there. We only have one loop of beginner trail, 0.9 miles of beginner trail, and that's what most of our users are that are coming in from out of town. So we're actually looking at a possibility of doing that. And I actually have that plan here if you guys are interested in looking at, but I'm not here promoting this particular one right now, but it is a very easy project we could do. So if that's something else that we would want to do, that would definitely be great. CWTA has been instrumental in the trail maintenance, and we have submitted a MOU. I don't know if you've been able to look at the draft that we've got, but submitting we already have a current MOU, but we're looking at updating that MOU to reflect the master plan, how it reads, and what we can actually provide on a really good partnership with the Natrona County Parks. And there are parts of it that are going to be, I'm sure it's going to be discussed. But what that partnership's going to include is basically what CWTA is very willing to do is the in-kind donation side of that. Already we donate almost $50,000 a year in labor, based on standard labor rates and stuff like that for the trail grooming, as well as the trail work that we do right now under the confines of in the confines of our MOU right now. And we can go far beyond. For this particular trail that you see in front of you, the Oopsie trail that we've got, I had 16 people ready to chomp at the bit to build trail. We have people that want to build trail. So we can, doing rough calculations, CWTA can probably knock $250,000 off that price tag of that $850,000. Now, I'm not here kind of pitching money, but using the volunteer group would be a very, very good use of local resources. Because keep in mind, the trails that are up there, those were not professionally built, but they have been sustained like a professional trail. The only reason why we're having issues are due to the fact that we have the influx of use, and yes.
Hey, Austin, hold a minute. Yes, Dave?
Yes, I was just going to ask Austin. Austin, are you guys looking at raising funds, or I guess I'm a little confused on some of this stuff. So I don't have any problem with that. I'm just trying to get some clarification on that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So the numbers I'm throwing out there are going to be our in-kind donation values. If we are to hire a consultant, CWTA is positioned to be able to hire that ourselves, and we would raise our own funds to do that. As well as if we can partner or whatever we can do to assist in grants and those sort of things, because our organization has access to grants that other organizations don't. So, working together, I think we can do something really great as far as raising the money. But as far as the numbers I'm throwing out are the in-kind donation value that we'll be able to provide to the county and to the city of Casper as well. So it's not going to cost anything, because these are volunteer hours that we're talking about. I just like to put a value to that, because I think that's very important to understand that we're not just doing something, we are doing it for free, but it's for the greater good, and there is a value associated with that, not just, oh, hey, yeah, these guys did it for free. So, because I think putting a dollar value to projects is very beneficial for people going, oh, well, we don't even know how much that is worth. So, and that's what we're doing. We're following kind of standard labor prices for labor. We're going around that $35 an hour, and for our trail bosses or any of our trained staff, if you will, we're putting a price at $65 an hour on. So we're not like going super high or anything like that. We're just doing what more than likely is the assessed value for those positions. And so we're putting hours as well as man hours on stuff. So hopefully that answers the question.
That kind of answers my question. When you were throwing numbers out there, I wasn't sure just exactly if that was a monetary or, you know, if you're putting a value to the actual work. So that helps. That just clarifies it for me. So I appreciate that.
Okay, yep, you bet. But in kind of conclusion to everything, you know, CWTA has been instrumental in getting a lot of stuff done up there and taking the burden off of the very limited staff that the Parks Department has. And I'm not saying that we're superheroes or anything, because there's a lot of other user groups that do work up there that well, I don't even know about. I mean, we go up there and see stuff that's done. It's like, well, that's great. But we would like to develop this partnership to where we could be, you know, a little more instrumental even in that, you know, repair, reconstruction, and, you know, that maintenance side of trails in Natrona County. And I'm not just talking about the Kaylin trails, I'm not talking about Yeadsville, I'm talking about Natrona County. So if that means being advocate for certain trails that, like Mr. Brown and I talked about, you know, you know, certain trails are not going to have bikes on them, we'll advocate for that. That's absolutely fine, and we're fine with that. Maybe putting a hiking trail in, a hiking only trail, we'll advocate for that. We'll build it. That's fine. We are a mountain biking group, but we'll build it. We're a trail building group. We're a trail advocacy group. So I hope that you guys, to kind of conclude, I hope you all can look through that, and we can work on something here soon, because it'd be kind of cool to start a trail this year. We have the master plan approved, and we have a whole bunch of people ready to go to work, and I think we've got a little excitement this year on getting some stuff done. We would have just an explosion at the beginning of next year to get some trails finished and usable. So I appreciate your time. Do you guys have any questions?
Hey, Austin, before you leave, got one more question.
Yes, sir.
Have we approached the outdoor rec funding to see if they can come up with some of the funding for this or apply for any of the grants that they have? Because I know there's a lot of additional money that was presented, you know, through that, and now that they're funded permanently, I think that would be a really good place for us to start looking at a lot of these grants, and we can utilize that volunteer time as our in-kind funding, and that's going to give us a lot more bang for the buck if we can do something like that. And I would love to see a combination of, you know, the county, the city, and the different user groups put in as, you know, as a group for that, because I think that would help us out a whole lot as far as getting that grant money, you know, applied to us.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, I've had conversations with Amy Crawford about this particular issue, or not issue, this particular opportunity. We need to get together. We need to have a meeting is basically what's going to happen, because we have a lot of, you know, I come in here and talk, and then I'm waiting, and then I make a phone call and wait. So we probably need to get a meeting scheduled to figure out what actually needs to happen to get these grants applied for, to get access to money, Visit Casper is a great resource. Visit Casper was who raised the $42,500, I believe it was, to be able to even afford to be able to get this master plan done, and that was amazing. So, you know, approaching Visit Casper, there's Elevate Casper, I think, is another user group out there. There's a couple other ones out there. But yeah, I definitely agree that we need to get together. As far as what I know right now on access to that money, I don't know. I know as far as us being a Wyoming nonprofit and an IMBA organization, we have access to grants that a lot of other organizations do not have access to. So we're looking into those as well.
Okay, Well, I think that would just be, you know, if there's an opportunity to set up a meeting where we can get together and talk about this, I'd love to participate in that. I know members of the board would also, as far as the county perspective and getting things moving forward on some of these things. Because unfortunately, the county's budget's gotten really tight. I know Michael's budget has gotten really tight on a lot of stuff. So anything we can look at for outside funding, especially when we can utilize our matching as far as the labor goes, I think that's a great thing for us to do. And I think that shows that we have total buy-in for the projects too.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, what I'll go ahead and do is I'll contact Amy and see if we can get a meeting scheduled. Meetings are very difficult to get scheduled with a lot of people. So, we'll do our homework and see who wants to be included in that. And if you're okay with it, Dave, I'll go ahead and contact you to see, who all needs to be included into that. And then we can start moving forward on that, cause I think that'd be great. And then as we all know, in-kind donation does count towards, those, grant application dollars as well. So we got to be careful that we don't overvalue it, but absolutely they do.
Yeah, my suggestion would be to start out with a small group, because I've learned you get better direction right off the bat, and then you get the bigger group involved.
Yeah, absolutely. And me being
It makes life a little easier. Yeah, it makes life a little easier. So I don't know what a small group would be as far as right now. But, obviously, probably Amy, Jolene, Michael Brown, and myself, and probably somebody from the Parks Board as well as yourself might be a good start to moving things forward on this.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are most of the names that would have came to my mind as well too. So, absolutely. So we'll get the ball rolling on that, because it's always better to do it now, especially since we're approaching planning season anyway. Kind of getting out of building season, so planning season would be the time to do it instead of waiting until when we want to build trail, and so we can actually hit the ground working next year. So,
I think that'd be great.
All right, awesome. Well, does anyone else have anything else?
Mr. Chairman, Austin, so on a more macro kind of level, can you tell me, I read this article that Bruce sent on great article, but can you tell me like a little bit about the users and how this ties to economic development? Like, are these out of town people that you see using this much, or?
So, initially there's going to be an influx of local users using these trails, and we are looking at, like Governor Gordon said in the State of the State address months ago, that outdoor recreation is the #2 priority for the state of Wyoming. Well, the only way for that to be a #2 priority for the state of Wyoming is for every community to jump on board with that and to help develop these areas, to gain access to money that's out there, to get these parks done, to get these trail systems in, to get these facilities in place for people to use, right? And what that article really alludes to is, like, especially at Kurt Gowdy, because Todd Thibodeau was the one that was interviewed on that. They had a 900% increase. Well, a 900% increase is kind of scary in tourism, as far as like, do we even have the infrastructure here in Casper, Wyoming to be able to handle that kind of influx? Well, that wasn't initially, because in that article, I believe it says that this has happened over the period of 25 years, I believe, or maybe even further, longer than that. So the ultimate goal is absolutely that it will be, I'm going to call them transient visitors, that will be here for a 1 to 2 day period, spending their $227 approximately per day per person in Natrona County. What does that look like for the initial influx of income to Natrona County? Probably not a lot right at first. But as the word gets out of a trail system that is built correctly, that when we do hire out the paid positions within that trail plan to companies that are world-renowned, because there are a few that are very interested in this project that are world-renowned builders, and one that is a very local individual that would love to work on a project here again. And when they hear that that name is attached to it, people are going to come. So it will be considered a destination area, and we would love to get the fancy E word on our trail system of an epic. Because that would make people want to come here. We are looking at the conclusion of the master plan, possibly in 3 to 5 years. I was hoping sooner that we could have a mountain bike trails festival as well, much like the Bear Trap Festival. Mountain bikers like to spend a lot of money. They really do. An average bike costs anywhere from $3,000 to $6,000. So now are those people going to be spending, are out-of-towners going to be spending that money in our community? Probably not, but they are going to need to get their bike fixed. They need to eat. They're going to get gas. They have to have a place to stay. So those dollars stay in Natrona County, and those tourism dollars are big, right? And then if we do develop all these trail systems throughout that are well-designed, well thought of, not saturated, well-designed, well-thought-of trail systems that connect, people may even want to stay for 3 days, 4 days, and then they're gone. Does that hurt the community by any means? No, it does not. It's only going to help the community by increasing the income to Natrona County, City of Casper, and ultimately the state of Wyoming to help offset the issues that we have going on with the whole state of Wyoming. So the answer is simply yes. We are looking for those tourism dollars from outside travelers coming in to spend their money here, enjoy our trails here. Does that mean, I've seen comments on Facebook that, well, we don't want the Colorado people up here. Well, I think the Colorado people are probably saying the same thing about me. I don't want the Wyoming people down there, because that's where I go to ride right now, is down to Colorado. I would love to drive 15 minutes to dry on epic trails rather than, 4 hours. So it will hold people here. We have an amazing opportunity. Casper has been known to produce some extremely high-level athletes. Why is that? Well, because we're in unique terrain. We have a unique desire to do things here. Well, if we build this infrastructure and build these trails, exactly like the ski trails up there, the biathlon up there, we're going to develop and cater to the level of athletes, and they're going to want to stay here. They're going to want to, have roots here. And then if we do have better economic development, I'm looking big picture right now, right? I'm looking at 30,000 foot view. Casper gets bigger and we have industry moves in. Now we have more families here. We have more money. We have more things to do. And now people want to stay, and Casper has no problems. We can go ahead and pay for a $400,000 trail system. In fact, absolutely go do it, because it's not a problem anymore, right? We're not trying to find money because we have money. So that's kind of the grand plan, but absolutely, tourism is where we're actually focused on this.
Austin, I think with this race coming up, I think it's really important to have some sort of signage before race day to inform the people, especially some of the homeowners up there that don't understand this huge influx of people just going all over the place. But if there's some signage going on that is visible for them to read, saying, "Oh, we got a race coming up, let's get off the mountain," or something like that. I know during the ski season, the high school and junior high does that, and I think it would just benefit you, even the runners, to inform people that what's going to take place up on the mountain.
Okay. Well, I'll contact Fatfish on that, because we work with Fatfish, but absolutely, I'm going to bring that up tonight to Fatfish to see about getting signage up, and then work with the social media impact is huge. Casper Mountain Landowners Association posts a whole bunch of stuff, and they get it spread out to people. So I love that idea. Just the transparency of what's going on up there. I love that. So we'll go ahead and get that going as well.
And I think, I can speak for myself and the board, that we are in favor of building this trail system you're talking about. But we need communication. And I know we've had some slips and slides and whatnot, and some bruises, but that just stalls things off. And I don't know if it's a small group that does that, just says, we're just going to do it. But that is what the taste is, not good. And I think you and Michael have got a communication going on now that helps us and helps the community that, oh, hey, we're working together. So please continue doing that.
Absolutely, absolutely, and definitely appreciated all the opportunities that we have been given so far, and we're just looking forward to the continued partnership we're going to have with you guys, as well as Michael Brown and the county commissioners and our community as well. So we're really excited about what this is going to bring for Natrona County.
Well, thank you for what you do up there, and I know you offered help today with the Corps people that were working on Bridle Trail.
Yeah, actually, that was yesterday, so I went up and ended up.
We
yeah.
appreciate
Yeah.
that people who volunteer. I mean, I went up there today and talked to them, and they're happy with the help they got and whatnot, so.
Good.
Thank you.
Yep, you bet.
Doing that personally and, you know, whoever you represent.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I love working with other people, other groups, learning from them as well. And I'll probably go visit them tomorrow, see how they're doing, because I got to go back to work eventually, so.
Thanks, Austin. I don't have anything else, and I'll be reviewing your MOU as soon
Okay.
as I can get to it.
Yep,
But yeah, like Jim said, communication's key.
Yep.
I mean, even on a little thing, you know, if you guys are gonna trim grass or something for a race, you know, I think Fat Fish probably did that. But, you know, just kind of give me a heads up.
yep, absolutely. We'll do our best on our part. As far as CWTA is concerned, we'll do our due diligence to make sure we're making, actually, we will make sure that you are contacted on anything that we are doing up
Yeah.
there, whether it's grass trimming, you know, fixing a little issue in the trail just for information reasons.
Yeah, and as soon as I can, I'll review this proposal for the first start at pinball, and I'll work on that MOU with legal. So.
Okay, and and I feel like the MOU is probably going to be more of a negotiation because the way it got written. We did have our legal side look at it just for any like oopsies or anything like that. Like I say, there's going to be some things in there that's going to be some give and take. I know that's going to be what it is, and I'm absolutely prepared. And I just want to build a really good document that allows a good handshake.
Yep.
You know, that both parties are taken care of on it. So.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks,
All right.
Austin.
Thank you so much.
I don't have anything else on the agenda, Vice Chair.
Okay. Do we have any board comments?
Sure. Quick question on the lodge up there, a commercial kitchen. I saw quite a bit of comments on Facebook about that, and I'm not advocating for one, but there's a significant cost to that, isn't there?
So there's a significant cost, and in the past with the old lodge, the concessionaire was subsidized by the county.
Okay.
So they couldn't, they got paid by the county to sell food. So, I want to get away from that.
Yeah.
So it's a catering kitchen, be able to be used for family reunions, weddings, ski events. But it's got all the wash sinks and all that. The equipment was left out of the contract as part of the value engineering. So at some point after it's constructed, probably in 2025, we'll be looking at installing actual equipment. But commercial kitchen can push the whole building over to require fire suppression,
Yeah.
which is going to require a large tank for feeding that and whatnot. So it wasn't cost effective to do it. And with the county subsidizing the concessionaire for years, it just didn't make any sense to provide a bowl of chili. It's great. I enjoyed it, but from a financial standpoint and trying to, pay attention to things, it didn't make sense.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question. I noticed that the old cafe for sale sign is down. Do you know if that was bought and if they are going to open that back up ever?
Yes, a gentleman by the name of Seth Linneman has purchased that or leased it from the state. He's working on opening it up for a little cafe, possibly some ski rental, snowshoe rental, mountain bike rental. He's been in conversations with me about getting our groomed trails to tie in, have a spur to tie in over there. So, yeah, they're working on that. I don't know what their timeline is for opening it up or anything like that, so.
But we did have a trail that went pretty darn close to his place.
Yeah, and I think he's just talking about a spur off of that
To
that
get
we could
closer.
groom
Uh-huh.
so that you could leave you could leave that building, I want to call it the Mercantile, but leave that building and take off skiing,
Gotcha.
so, or snowshoeing or whatever, so, yeah.
Thank you.
Crystal?
I do have a question. Well, actually, two. So when you mentioned that the West Side Campground next year might go to the reservation system, what would that leave for first come, first served spots?
So it leaves all of Cottonwood, it leaves Fremont Canyon on Lakeshore Drive, that campground, and then Pathfinder, Bishop's Point, Wolf Point, Sage Campground and Weiss.
Okay.
So we're still gonna be we'll probably be closer to 60% of reservation, 40% first come, first served. But the overall long-term plan that I understand, and I've kind of got it in my head, is as campgrounds get improved, they go into the reservation system. So eventually, all the county camping is gonna be reservation. I know a lot of people don't like that, but it seems to work quite well on the mountain. It gives you better, you don't get as crowded. Now, I know some people like crowds, and I'm working on making campsites that you could have multiple trailers at. So that's a process. So we're gonna, even in the reservation system, we're gonna set it up so that you can have a site where you could have 3 campers, possibly 4 campers if it's big enough, and set it up that way. But it spaces everybody out. It cuts down on the congestion. I know folks still want to corral all the trailers in together, 5 or 6 of them, and pull the keg out and have a good time, and that's fine. We're gonna try and find a medium, a place for you to do that. But we get away from dealing with cash. We know who was in the site the night before, so if it's trashed, we can contact them, we can block them out of the system, we can flag their account. So it gives us another way of dealing with the folks that don't want to follow the rules. So that's kind of the long-term plan, but it is a long-term plan to get, we have lots of campsites that need to be approved before we get there, so.
The other question I had to do with the sewer and water lines out at the trailer park.
Yes.
Is there a limit of how much work can be done before the cost is passed on to the renters?
So
I said that wrong, I'm
we
sorry.
charge the trailer park specifically, we charge them for trash service, water and sewer. And so they have a base service fee in their permit that goes from that. But if water and sewer rates exceed that, then we charge them the difference. So for example, it's a $115 service fee. So last year, it was, I believe, $6 and change that was added to that to cover the additional water cost. And the year before that, it was like $5.45.
But if you have to redo those sewer lines, you're talking,
Yeah, so we have a water sewer restricted fund in our lake budget that builds with that
okay.
money. And it's not to the point where we could replace it, but we need to at least investigate it, find out what needs to be done, because that trailer park's been there a long time, and there's clay sewer tile, the water system runs underneath all the trailers, it has constant breaks, and, you know, the permit season is April 15th through October 15th, and folks do get upset when I don't turn the water on April 15th. Well, if I did it this year, we'd probably have 100 valves broken. So I have to make that decision based on weather and forecast if it's gonna freeze or not, so, yeah.
Thank you.
So, yeah, that's how that works.
Just going over the Casper Building Systems proposal on some of the items. we had discussion before on this, Michael, on air conditioning and whatnot, or a heat pump or something like, is that deleted now, or is that still questionable, or?
I believe the air conditioning was added back in, but I'm trying to recall that. I believe it was added back in. If it's not, the heating system is already prepped for that, so that if we need to install air conditioning later, we can, but I think it was added back in. I would have to review that to find out.
Okay, just on item 7, it indicates that it was, delete the fireplace and delete the air conditioning system in the mini split. So,
Yeah, and I think that was modified, so I don't know if that's the latest and greatest, but that's the one I had, so. Because I think that's the one we used, that VE list is what we used for discussion with the commissioners. And then, so that has probably been modified.
okay.
And I can get the VE list from the proposed contract and get that to you. That would be an updated one, I think.
Okay. Did Doug make it online?
Yes, I'm here.
Do you have any comments, Doug?
Yes, I just wanted to echo Michael's and some of the other board members' comments on thanking Austin and CWTA for their tireless efforts and all the work they've been doing up on the mountain. And I look forward to a better partnership between the county, the public, and volunteer organizations like CWTA. I think we're going to see good things in the near future come to fruition from that. And Michael, I'm glad to hear all the good news on the WYO Conservation Corps' work in Rotary Park. That's excellent, and I'm sure we can find ways in the future to utilize them on those trails and others in our park system. And that's all my comments for right now. Thank you.
Commissioner North, do you have any more comments?
I just want to thank everybody for being there tonight. Sorry I could not make it tonight. I had some things come up, so I was planning on being there, but unfortunately life happens, and so had to call in. But I'm excited about a lot of the stuff that's getting done right now and the things that we're moving forward. Everybody knows that the area up in Rotary Park just really took a hard hit this year with all the rain and the moisture that we had. I'm glad that we've got the workers up there doing stuff right now, taking care of that. And I'm also thankful that Central Wyoming Trail Alliance is also willing to partner up with us and work with us on getting some of these things done up on the mountain. And I do appreciate that immensely. I think this is going to give us a good opportunity for us to get some of these things done and hopefully get some grant money from the Outdoor Rec Fund and get a lot of this stuff accomplished and utilize the in-kind work to get it done. So I'm excited about that. I mean, we're finally going to get started on the Nordic Lodge. It's been a while, but I'm happy that we're finally getting to the point where we're going to get something moving on that. So that's a good thing. So that's pretty much it. Just thought I'd throw that in.
Thank you. Guess we can go to public comments now, unless, Michael, you have anything else to say?
No, I don't have anything else, so I didn't know if Sergeant Legler wanted to speak on anything tonight.
No, I'm good.
Appreciate you coming.
Mr. Legler, it's nice always to see you here.
What's that?
It's nice to always see you here.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Austin, thank you again for coming here tonight and explaining the situation and the what's happening in the next future.
Absolutely.
If you would inform Fatfish, if they could put up those signs, that would help for this weekend.
Yep.
I think you said you had a meeting tonight, or?
I'm just going to call Chris and
Okay.
just talk to him. I'll talk to him tonight.
Great. So is there any more further comments?
The only other thing I have is I will be on vacation next week, so I won't be in the office. So if you're not seeing a delay, My wife's not gonna like me saying that, but if you guys need to contact me, I will be checking voicemails and email on occasion, so.
Unless your wife hides your phone.
Great. If there's no further comments or